Hey, what's up, all of you beautiful subscribers? Welcome back to the Chapple Show, where we talk about business and stock market news. But before we get started, I just want to say a 20-second thing here. I just want to talk about Gord Downie. He died today. For those of you that are not Canadian, you probably don't know who he is, but almost every single Canadian knows who he is. He was the front man for one of the biggest Canadian bands that never went international. Like, we have a lot of Canadian singers out there. We have like the Justin Biebers and, Avril Lavigne's and all those people. But this was the one band which is giant in Canada, which just never branched out into, other places around the world. And fortunately, he passed away. I normally don't do this stuff, but he's a Canadian icon, so best wishes to his family. Anyways, let's just jump right into this business news. I want to talk about Google. Okay, so this news came out today. Google is kind of becoming a real estate company. So we're going to talk about this. Why are they doing this? So first of all, Sidewalk Labs is a subsidiary. They're kind of a branch of Google. And so, yeah, Google owns them, and they just build smart cities. That's what they want to do. And their first project is going to take place in Toronto. And so this is big news to me because it's obviously nearby. And I know a lot of Canadian flavor to start out the show. So it's always nice when I get to talk about that. But they're going to be building a smart city, and they're kind of working with the city right now. They announced it today. It's happening as long as, everything just goes as planned over the next few years. So what they are doing is they're buying off a giant, not even a giant, but I think it was 12 to 40 acres of land, essentially in downtown Toronto, which is, essentially like somewhere between like New York and Chicago in terms of how urbanized it is. And like in terms of stacked and buildings and all that stuff. And I mean, they bought out a ton of land, and they're going to be building this smart city here. So it's going to be cool. They don't really give too many specifics here. Let's see, growing cities. So what they want to do is they want to make living more efficient. They want to, have a lot of amenities nearby. They want to essentially kind of create their own hub, their own like mini city within a city kind of deal. That's what they want to do here. It's actually got some cool animation. So for those of you listening in podcast form, go to sidewalklabs.com. You can see some cool animations about what they want to do here. But here's what I want to talk about in terms of the economics of this and kind of what it means for the company Google itself. I mean, first of all, actually look at this, is that they want to build really modular, very small homes that are affordable. And they're actually, what they did here, I'll show you where they're buying this land out here. So for those of you listening in podcast form here, see, this is Toronto here in the, upper region here of this Google Maps here. And then what they did was they bought out this entire area on the water, on Lake Ontario, prime real estate, and they're going to turn that into a city. And so they might be branching out into a little bit of a real estate company here. And so it kind of makes sense because I was actually, Peter Thiel, I talked about in yesterday's video how I watched one of his talks here, one of his talks last week. And he said one of the things that he hates is that companies like Google specifically, he called Google out specifically, said that they are piling up cash in a way that is hurting the economy. So Google has about $50 billion plus sitting in overseas banks right now, just sitting and doing nothing. Just sitting in banks somewhere. They're not investing it. They don't know what to do with it. And what Peter Thiel was saying was that you should be using that capital to, either put it towards research and development, putting it towards investing, putting it towards new business opportunities. And I think that this is one of them. This is one of the things. Now, I know that Sidewalk Labs is completely different from the Google cash pile. I do realize that. But it's nice to see that, like, at least they're branching out into different kind of fields here. They're kind of conceding that, okay, Amazon is, taking over the e-commerce space. Facebook's been catching up with the ad revenue. In fact, Facebook might have the most ad revenue. I think it's probably past Google AdWords, and which is a pretty big revenue vehicle for Google. So they're kind of branching out into something new here. And what do you guys think about this? Would you want to live in like this Google city here? It's really interesting. And actually, my old office, from when I was 18, was not too far from here, about probably 10 kilometers away from here, not even. Which in the city, that's like an hour drive. But anyways, what do you guys think of all this? They want to have their own like mini transit going through here. It looks like they're going to have a lot of green space. They're going to try and clean up the water. It's actually supposed to be a place where in this little community here, they're going to have their own research facilities to test new products within this city. It's kind of has this like Blade Runner type feel here, it's really, really strange. I don't know if I'd want to live in this. It's going to be really compact living here, and I don't know, I don't really like that. But hey, I mean, a lot of people want to live in really small places with a lot of people, and so I mean, it's probably going to go well, and I hope it does. I'll probably go down there with the camera in the next couple of years once they're building it and just show you guys, because it's probably about 2 hours away from my house right now. So anyways, that's something interesting I just want to talk about today. So what do you think about this? Do you think that Google should make more of these kinds of cities? Would you want to live in them? Leave a comment down below. And it's nice to know that I think that initially they're putting in $50 million just to get talks with the government going. And by the way, they placed out a bid to a bunch of countries around the world, and they did a bunch of surveys, and they looked at Paris, they looked at, London, they looked at New York, they looked at LA, and they picked Toronto. Out of all cities, they thought it was the best, and they had the best incentives to come here, and they like the upcoming tech sector, which I've talked about a bunch in southern Ontario. And so it's kind of cool. It gives me a little bit of Canadian pride here that some tech companies are realizing that Toronto and Canada is kind of becoming a little bit of a tech hub. It's starting to. We'll see what happens. But another thing that has to do with Google here, I want to talk about this article, which is Amazon, Apple, Google, and Facebook will go away within 50 years, says this author. Now, I thought that was quite interesting. So I was looking at the top companies of the 1960s, and what I saw was the top companies are still around today. We're talking like General Motors, we're talking like General Electric, Exxon. Those companies are still around. However, if you look at the tech companies, I mean, there was the Blade Runner movie. Think about this. Blade Runner, when did that come out? The 1980s, the original one? And people, if you watched that movie, the Blade Runner from the 1980s, you'll see, maybe I can pull it up here. So Blade Runner, Pan Am. If you look at the top, if you look at the companies that are advertised in the Blade Runner 1980s version, you'll see that the advertisers were like Pan Am, they were Atari, they were, I don't know, there were two companies I'd never heard of before, and then there was Coca-Cola, meaning that 4 of the 5 companies that were some of the top companies of the world in the 1980s, they're now essentially nothing. They're either bankrupt or they're so small that they're non-existent. Only one that made it through was Coca-Cola. And so, but yet a lot of the companies, like the companies that are not tech companies, the ones that are the Exxons, the ones that are the Coca-Colas, the ones that are big, giant brands that aren't in the tech sector, they usually stick around. But tech is so volatile that companies go bankrupt all the time. They go away all the time. So, I wouldn't be surprised. I know Apple's kind of had a good track record now. So I think Apple's probably going to be here in 50 years. But we'll see. Amazon, Google, Facebook, we'll see what happens to them in the next 50 years. They're probably not going to go completely bankrupt, but odds are there's going to be some company that there's going to be in 50 years. Think about this. In 50 years, there's probably going to be a company that started in 35 years that is bigger than Apple, that is bigger than Google, that is bigger than Facebook, that is bigger than Amazon. That's probably going to happen. Some company that won't exist for 35 years will be bigger than Facebook in 50 years. How crazy is that to think about? Potentially. Again, Facebook's, who really knows what's going to happen with Facebook, Google, Amazon, but, tech companies are volatile. I think that a lot, but you know what, though, is that we're kind of going through this different period here where a lot of the cleaner energy companies are kind of coming up. They're taking a little bit of market share away from some oil companies. Maybe the oil companies are the ones that go bankrupt next. Maybe the tech companies are here to stay and the oil companies are the ones that are going to go next. Or that's just an example, right? A lot of the tech companies went away from the 60s to today because we went through this technological revolution where, if you weren't innovating every 6 months with a new product, you were pretty much dead. And maybe that stretches over. Maybe that's going to happen for a lot of staple companies. Maybe it's going to be for car companies. Who knows? Maybe Tesla catches up. Maybe the companies that don't want to make electric cars go bankrupt. Who really knows? That's just a thought I had recently after seeing this article here. So A big question for U.S. cities is Amazon headquarters. So is the Amazon headquarters, the second one, worth the price? So if you don't know, Amazon's been placing out a bid to cities or an auction to cities saying, whoever gives us the best tax incentives, they will get our next headquarters. We're going to hire, thousands, tens of thousands of very high quality, high educated jobs where, the average person in the headquarters will make 80,000 plus, probably even more than that. So they say here, Amazon's promising $5 billion investment too from, setting up the infrastructure around maybe having their own building, their own site, their own real estate, and 50,000 jobs along with that. So that's what they are promising here. And they're placing out this bid. And, for a city, what this means is it's going to attract some talent. The standard of living, the quality of living is going to go up because you're 50,000 more high quality jobs, high paying jobs that Amazon's paying out. That's going to be good for the city. Now, saying that, it may not be as if the city has to bid and actually has to pay Amazon or maybe gives their employees some tax breaks. I don't know what the details are here. Then it could have a little bit of a negative long-term effect. But there's this man named Bruce Croxon. A guy named Bruce Croxon. He is one of the dragons on Dragon's Den, which is the Canadian version of Shark Tank. A lot of Canadian stuff today. And so what he was saying is I hope Toronto doesn't bid on it, because what I think cities should do is, instead of trying to attract Amazon, build your own Amazon. Have investments in your own startup companies so that they can grow and maybe not become the $500 billion company gorilla that Amazon is, but maybe becoming a $1 billion company that can have their own headquarters with 500 to 1,000 people, and hopefully it grows from there. That's what Bruce Croxon says, and that's what I'm a fan of too. Is just build your own Amazon. Don't bid too much for this. Now, saying that, obviously, wherever this company goes, it's going to be good for the city, I think. But I'm more of a kind of grow your own talent and go from there. But saying that some cities are in desperate need to have some sort of positive economic impact on them, like Chicago's going through a rough time right now. But anyways, I think that we're going to move on to the next topic here. But what do you think? What would you want an Amazon headquarters to move to your city? And here's the negative impact, is that it's going to bring a lot of high quality jobs, but it's going to raise the cost of living, because as you know, if the average wage goes up from bringing in all these new high paying tech jobs, all of the people that are baristas in the same city, the cost of living for them is going to go way up, and maybe their wage doesn't go up. So it hurts a lot of the lower income people. That's also something that happens too. So that's something for everyone to think about. It's going to raise real estate prices too. There's lots of negative effects. Anyways, I think that we're just going to move on here. Let's move on to the next topic here. Just something, a random headline. I'm not going to spend too much time on it here. But 169 billionaires are too poor to make the Forbes list of 400 richest Americans, meaning that we have a lot of billionaires today. That's what that means, is that there's a lot of billionaires worth, $1 billion, $1.6 billion that didn't even crack the Forbes 400 richest Americans. And let's take a look at the top 10 here. So Bill Gates still number one, $89 billion in wealth. Even though he's given a lot away, he's still very wealthy. Jeff Bezos number two. He had the number one spot for about 4 hours, as you guys remember. Warren Buffett number three, Mark Zuckerberg number four, Larry Ellison number five here, the guy who heads Oracle. Most people don't know that. Then we got the Koch brothers at 6 and 7, 48.5 billion. And then we got Michael Bloomberg. Okay, Bloomberg. I didn't know that they were that high on the list. 46.8 billion. And then we got the Google brothers, even though they're not brothers. Google, Larry Page and Sergey Brin. Wow, I didn't even know this. Is that they have separate equity in the company. Larry Page has a net worth of $1 billion more than Sergey Brin. That's actually interesting. I did not know that. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. They're both super rich. So that's just a quick article headline I wanted to talk about today. Amazon. I don't want to play this video here. Oh yeah, I was going to actually talk about this, but now I'm thinking I don't want to make this video too long here. I was going to talk about how much the average Amazon Prime customer spends on merchandise here. Maybe we'll just do a quick second here. So the company's study says that Amazon Prime subscribers spend $1,300 per year nearly doubling the $700 per year average that a non-member spends on e-commerce sites. So people who do buy Amazon Prime usually spend about $1,300 per year on merchandise, which is a heck of a lot. And I was going to talk about that regarding my site, but I just don't want to make this video too long because yesterday's video was about 40 minutes. So I'm going to try and keep this one a little bit shorter here. So a fair tax code is a more efficient tax code. Should we even talk about this too? So there's been a lot of talk about taxes recently. I like to watch, I like to watch a lot of different news sources, a lot of conservative ones, a lot of liberal ones. I even like to go to the communist side. I like to go to the libertarian side. I like to go to the extremes, kind of get everyone's opinion on everything. And so there's this tax proposal, which I've talked about a lot in this past year, about Trump and the Republican. They want to pass a tax plan which cuts taxes across the board. And it's really interesting to get opinions from all sides here. And I'll kind of give you what I've seen for the past few weeks here once this has gotten to the mainstream media. So what I've seen a lot, and this happens anytime that there is a tax cut or a tax gain, is that one side will only talk about their own agenda. And so what I've seen a lot from this is, okay, so tax cuts. I'll try to give you the unbiased opinion on what tax cuts mean. I'll give you the negatives and the positives here. So the positives is that the average middle-class person gets to keep more money in their pocket. On average, an American family with this tax cut will save about $1,000 to maybe $1,500, even $2,000 per year in taxes. It might even be a lot more for some families that have children. And so that when you think about that, let's say it's $1,200 a year, that's $100 a month. All of a sudden, that means that the family that is struggling, paycheck to paycheck, that means that they have an extra $100 that they can spend on, utilities. Maybe they can use that to save up for a vacation or a trip somewhere. That can mean a lot for the quality of life for the average American. Plus, here's the other perspective too, actually. So that's just generally what a tax cut means, is that more money, you get to keep more of your money if you're a middle-class American. So that's what you see from the conservative perspective. And then what we see from the, liberal democratic perspective is, they talk about the tax cuts and they talk about how this is a cash grab for the rich. All right, because their tax bracket's going to go down from 38% to 35% or something like that. Like they're getting cut down 3%. And there's a cat here. Get out of here, cat. Get out of here, Eevee. We're talking about taxes. Yeah, the cat's name's Eevee, like the Pokemon. Anyway, so where was I? And so tax cuts. So one thing that really bothers me about liberal media specifically is this just one topic. So I watched a little bit of Young Turks this week, and whenever there's any talk about a corporate tax cuts, even if it's paired with decreasing corporate tax loopholes, so the big corporations don't have as many loopholes, but their tax brackets lowered, they'll always say that, look, why are you lowering tax brackets on these giant mega corporations? You're lowering the tax brackets. You're essentially killing the middle class and all of this stuff. And they don't mention that 99.9% of corporations are not mega multi-billion dollar corporations. They're businesses like I own. All right, they're businesses like that I worked at for the last couple of years, about a guy who has 100 employees who's trying to expand. And sure, the company brings in several $100,000 in profit, maybe $1 million or more a year in profit. Probably more than that by now. Who knows? They're growing pretty fast right now, the company that I was working at before. But like most corporations are like that. They're not Apple, who is hoarding $200 billion overseas. They are not Google, who has $50 billion in cash sitting overseas. Most corporations that are going to be affected are owned by people like me. They're owned by people like you listening to this who want to launch your own business. All right? If you want to incorporate, that's what happens. You will be affected by this. And so what I see a lot from specifically the left side of the media is like whenever there's any sort of corporate tax cut, they're like, this is just a thing for the rich. And I think of it as like, this is going to help me and people that want to start their own companies, more than it's might even help Apple. Like for me, if I can save, 10% on my taxes, or 20% or 30%, 30% is a lot. Although, no, proportionally, 30%. I'm not talking about having my tax bracket go down from 40 to 10. I'm talking about, having it go down from 30 to, 20, 23 or something like that. That's the difference between me hiring an employee and not. And using an extra few thousand, $10,000 to grow a company versus not. And so that's what I think of it as. But saying that, it is I understand their perspective too. Apple, if they have this tax cut, all that's going to do for them is they're going to hoard more cash, and they're not going to be able to. The government's not going to be able to collect as much taxes as they were before. So I understand all perspectives. It's very difficult because, there aren't a lot of super neutral news outlets out there regarding especially business and even politics. And I think that the best middle ground that I've seen in terms of a political commentator is probably Philip DeFranco. He might be slightly conservative. I think that I agree with a lot of his views. I think that out of all the political commentators out there, I think that his views align with mine the closest. Because there's no way I agree with Steven Crowder or Ben Shapiro or any of those guys. Right? There's no way I agree with Russell Brand. By the way, Russell Brand, he's almost a communist. And I'm not kidding. He has his own YouTube channel, a million subscribers, makes videos every day, big famous actor, he was worth, tens of millions of dollars. And man, he just went off he's pro-communism, everyone should be taxed at 85%. Go watch some of his stuff. I understand his perspective because you want to redistribute wealth. You want everyone to have a good life. I get that. It's just, I think that we're probably 200 years away from that being a good idea. It's just, yeah. Anyways, go look at that. Go look at, Young Turks, and go look at Steven Crowder, and go, just try to get a good overall political commentary. And I think that that's the best thing that you can do, is just try to listen to all sides and understand all perspectives. That's what I try to do. Even though here's where I stand politically is, I'm a conservative Canadian, but in the United States, I guess I'm Democratic. I don't even know what I am, but anyways, I understand all sides, and hopefully you guys do too. So anyways, we're going to move on to the next topic here. Let's talk about Bitcoin. So Bitcoin's down 9% over the past, I believe, few days. It might have rebounded this morning though, actually. We can check I had this live stream up here of the Bitcoin price. Sorry, give me 1 second. Bitcoin price. And then I canceled it for some reason. So what's Bitcoin at today? Bitcoin's okay. Yeah. So it's rebounded today. So today its bottom was at 5,100. And why? I do not want to. Hey, you know what I hate? When sites have these pop-up ads. One of the worst things you can do if you have a site is to have a pop-up ad will you take this survey? Do you want to subscribe? I haven't been on your site yet. Let me go look at what I want to look at, and then maybe I'll decide I can sign up with your registered button at the top. Don't give me these damn pop-ups every time I go onto your site. That really pissed me off. So anyways, Bitcoin was at $5,117 as of a few hours ago. Currently sitting at, so it's rebounded a few $100s. It's almost at $5,400 today. So they tumbled about 9%, but it looks like it's tumbles over, as we've seen continuously through Bitcoin. No matter how much it tumbles, it always seems to rebound here. And man, Bitcoin is just something I just can't invest in it, guys. I know it's been so good, it's been so hot lately, and I can't deal with this volatility. There's no way I could do that. But Bitcoin was down 9%. Why? It's because there was fear for oversight from U.S. regulators. So as you guys know, Bitcoin exchanges, especially overseas in Asia, they've been getting hunted down by the government, saying, look, you cannot do this anymore. You cannot offer, these ICOs, these initial coin offerings. You can't do this anymore. We have our own currency, and we just want to crack down on this. And there's fear of that happening in the United States and North America, and if that happens, that's the end of Bitcoin. I don't think it'll have legs if it gets shut down in America. We'll see what happens. I'll keep an eye on it for you guys, as I always do. So actually, man, there was this one story here. I think I might have just canceled it out here. Let's see if it was here. No, but there was this family, so it's not here. But I'll talk about that though. Is that there was this one family who bet everything on Bitcoin, and they did it a few months ago. So they sold their house. They sold, which was 3,000 square feet or something like that, 2,000 something square feet. Big house. They have 3 kids. They sold their motorcycle and their cars, and they're living on a campsite in the Netherlands now, and they're going to live as cheap as possible and cross their fingers that Bitcoin earns them enough of a return so that they won't have to work anymore. And man, they are going all in. They are pushing in all the chips on something that they cannot control. Now, I talk about going all in. I talk about this in the Wealth Accelerator program, which you can check out in the link below, is that I have this talk called the all-in moment, where you're supposed to push in all the chips, take a big risk, quit your job, and pursue your passion, essentially. Except this is not the way to do it. You're not supposed to. This is gambling. You're selling everything and crossing your fingers that Bitcoin's going to go up. When I talk about the all-in moment, I talk about pushing in all your chips into a business or into some sort of career or some passion that you really want to do and make some money from. Whatever that is, if you want to sell stuff online, if you want to blog, if you want to start your own company, your own startup, you have that all-in moment. I've had a few of these moments, but my big one happened last year, or about a year, maybe over a year ago now. Man, that time is really flying by. Probably about a year and a half ago, where I pushed in all the chips. I quit my corporate job because my income from my side stuff and my investments was exceeding my corporate job, and I was like, okay, enough of that. I'm just gonna do what I want to do, and if you guys know me, I don't sign contracts. I don't sign contracts. I've never signed one. I've worked for a few people in my life. I won't have to do that ever again, I hope. But I never signed contracts. So I said, I gave them a few days notice. I said, look, I'm not coming into work on Wednesday. You got me for a few more days. I can help. I said, I can help you hire someone. I know some people that would be interested. If you want me to do that, I can totally do that for you. They can be here on Thursday if you really want that. And they just said, no, thank you for everything. And you've done a good job. And let's stay in touch when your business keeps growing. So, but I don't sign contracts because I can do that. I can do that and just walk away from a company. And I know that. So why was I able to do that? It's because I kind of had a lot of skills. I had a lot of leverage. I could do a lot of things. At that company, I was doing the job of essentially 3 people for the price of 1.5. And that's why I was able to get that job and no contract, and I had leverage. And that's something that you guys need to think about. So if you guys really want to have that sort of leverage over wherever you're working, develop a lot of skills. Make sure you can replace a lot of people at your company. So a lot of you are really specialized. A lot of you are specialized in one thing. And this is what the typical employee is. You're really good at one thing. So for some people, it's selling. You're really good at sales. That's very important. Some of you, it's really good at marketing. That's really important too. Some of you, you're really good at design. All right, that's really important too. Some of you are really good at writing. Some of you are really good at communication, whatever, HR. You're specialized in that one thing, and you want to get really good at that one thing, but you suck at everything else. And so it's important to branch out your skills. Make sure that you have a big skill set, a big base of skills, so that you're more valuable to your company. All of a sudden, if you can sell your company's product, if you can market it, and if you can blog and do the writing and handle the social media, get down from there, cat. No, get down from there. Go over there. Sorry, I can see that this cat's trying to jump on my desk here. I have this adjustable desk, and the cat's freaking above my head right now, trying to jump down this. There's no way. No way I'm letting that happen. No, get away from here. Anyways, don't meow at me. There's plenty of space right there. You just got, nope. Okay, whatever, cat, come here. Just jump down. Come on, just get it over with. We got to get back to the business news here. What was I talking about? Have a large skill set. It gives you a lot of leverage. And that's something you can probably demand higher pay. You can replace a lot of people at your company. You're more likely to be hired for a senior, a higher level position if you can do a lot of skills. again, if you can sell something and if you can write and do a lot of things, all of a sudden you're more valuable to your company. All of a sudden you might be able to be, the CFO of your company if you can manage the money. You might be able to be the CEO of the company one day. Because guess what? The CEO has to do a lot of stuff. You have to make a lot of big decisions. You have to know a little bit about everything that's going on in the company. And you cannot do that if you're only good at writing. All right. If you're only good at writing, you're not going to be CEO. All right. If you're only good at one thing, there's no way you're going to be a good CEO. You're not going to be a good executive. You need to branch out your skills. And people are like, how do you do that, Jack? Well, that takes months. It takes years. Think about the last tool I added to my repertoire is coding. The last 2 months, all I did, I put my head down. I barely made videos. I barely pursued any other revenue streams apart from my passive income. Put my head down. I'm learning how to code. And I've added that to my toolbox now. Guess what? I didn't know how to public speak or to speak on a podcast. I didn't know how to do that. I was very shy. I didn't know how to talk. I was very quiet. Okay, cat, now you got to get off here. All right, give me 1 second here. Got to get this cat off the desk. Go. There we go. The cat jumped down. Okay. Yeah. So think about all those skills. You gotta have a lot of skills. And again, I wasn't always a good speaker. I was a terrible speaker. I was the kid in school that never said a word. And guess what? I practiced public speaking for a few months, and I went from essentially talking like this in everything I did to talking like this and being a good podcaster. And selling and marketing and all that. I did years of that stuff. Learning skills takes months. It takes years, but you got to put your head down and actually do it every day. Just put your head down. Do 1 hour of something, 1 hour of learning something, 1 hour of learning. Go on to udemy.com and learn a new skill, whether it's how to market, how to sell something through Facebook ads, all right, how to do Google AdWords, how to make your own YouTube videos, how to code, whatever it is. Just try and learn skills like that. It'll benefit you so much more in the future. And another thing I realized too is that every time you learn one of those skills, and if you want to be an entrepreneur, it really helps you branch out into the businesses that you can start. I really wanted to start a real estate company, and I got my real estate license. I can do that. And I did do that. I can, even before that, I wanted to, be a podcasting YouTuber person, but I didn't know how to public speak or to make videos. Guess what? I learned how to do that, and that happened. I built that kind of company, and I can do that now, but I couldn't do that before. Guess what? Now, 4 or 5 months ago, I could not start a tech company because I didn't know how to code. Guess what? I learned how to code. I started a tech company. And so just by learning skills, it helps you as an entrepreneur and as an employee. Keep learning some actual hands-on skills that you can use to benefit your career, whatever it may be. Okay, that was a long rant. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Should we even talk about Richard Branson here? I was going to talk about the bond market, but Richard Branson, I just thought this was funny. So he says, I met Donald Trump in the 1990s, and all he talked about was destroying people who wouldn't help one of his bankrupt businesses, which is kind of funny. But 1990s, I guess, how old was Trump? Trump was probably in his 40s, right? His mid 40s, somewhere around there. By the way, Richard Branson, super cool billionaire. I think I've told the story of my mom. I asked her this many, many years ago. She said, if I don't know why we're having this talk. Should I even talk about this? I don't even know. Who cares? I said, so she asked me, if you could spend one day with one person in the world, who would it be? And I think I said, Neil deGrasse Tyson or someone. I asked her that. She said, Richard Branson. Why? Because he's super chill. 2, he knows everything there is to know about business, so you can learn and ask him questions for an entire day. Hopefully you can learn something. And anyways, I think that's, sorry, long pause here. I heard some steps or something, but it's just the cats. Anyway, so I think that's just going to wrap this video up here. This video is way too long, a lot longer than I thought. So that's going to wrap this video up. I'd like to thank you very much for watching. You could check out my programs in the link below if you want to. And hopefully, within the next few weeks, I can actually launch this website here, this e-commerce marketplace. I've been working on it for so long, guys. And it's just the design and the flow that's all I have left. That I'm just doing the flow of the site and the design, and I'm not going to make it look perfect. It's still when I launch it, it's still going to be an alpha test. It's just going to be so people can test some shipping and people can make their own products and sell their own products. And By the way, one of the things I'm going to do too, I'm going to see how this works out, is one of the benefits of using my site versus those like selling on Amazon, selling on eBay and stuff, is that you're going to get paid pretty quickly. So if someone buys your product on Amazon, you have to wait 30 days to get your payment. Sometimes I think you get paid 1 day every month, right? Amazon and sites like eBay and stuff, they pay you, every couple weeks, every month. With me, it's going to be fairly quick. It's going to be within if you're a really good seller and you're trusted, it's going to be immediately. If you're a new seller, it's going to be, odds are, a few days. And I can go in, and if you do some bad stuff, I can go in and take money out of your Stripe account, because that's part of the rules. Is that if you screw people over, then that's what happens. People don't really realize this, is that when you sell on certain sites, like the whatever site you're on, so whether it's like I use a site called Kajabi, and whenever someone wants a refund or something like that, it automatically just gets deducted out of my Stripe account, and that's what's going to happen on my site too. Is that, like, look, if you screw someone over, or someone really wants a refund, I won't do it if they want a refund, because that's going to be weird. If they buy something, then they demand a refund but keep the product. I'm not going to allow that to happen. But I mean, if someone asks for it, then that can be a possibility. But let's just say, for example, if someone buys a product from the site and they want, I don't know, a super rare baseball card that's worth $100, and you send them some crappy card that's worth $2, but it looks similar, and you were very mischievous with your sales tactics, I'm going to take out the $100 from your account, and I'm going to give them a refund. And that's just what happens. So that's my way of being honest. And yeah, so, and if you don't have the money in your account, it links to your bank account, so that's what happens too. But I know that's like, oh, Jack's going to be super controlling, and it's not. It's all going to be automatic, so it's not it's just, don't screw people over. At the end of the day, don't screw people over. And by the way, I'm going to have to approve me, and it's going to be partially automatic too, and I'm going to have someone doing it who's all set to do it now, is every single product that gets posted to the site is going to be going through approval. And so if you're like, want to post some dick pics and being like, hey, or you want to whatever, be like, hey, I $100 and we get to, bone for an entire night or something, prostitution, like, that's not going to be allowed. And so that won't even make it onto the site. That's so I've put in a lot of those safety features of just like making sure that everything goes through approval, make sure that the customer's happy. And actually, one last thing I'll talk about before I close out is, I don't know if I should launch what I was planning on doing, and I'm going to do, is people can send me their products, and I will ship it for them, and I will make it available for 12-hour shipping if they send it to me. So if someone buys your product and they happen to be in a certain area, then the product will get to their house in 12 hours. And I will ship it for you. You guys don't have to deal with that as long as you ship the products to me. I was thinking of opening that up right away, but I might not now, because I still think I'm going to have to code for another few months, and I don't know if I'll have time to deal with that stuff at this current second. So I think it'll be best. I'll still do 12 to 24-hour shipping for all the stuff that I'm selling, which is a crap ton, but I'll open up the fulfillment by my company probably in a few months. We're going to see what happens. So that's something I thought about today. God damn it, I'm so close to... I wrote down the things I need to do before I can give you everything to you guys. So again, the site's fully functional. Like, you can get paid right now if you want, post products. But the flow of the site's terrible. It looks terrible. But the functionality's there. I need to do 5 things left. 5 things left that are somewhat intermediate in terms of importance to the site. I got done all the major stuff. I got done the payments. I got done obviously the posting stuff and the registering and the logins and all that stuff that in the search engines and all the data and all that stuff. Like, that's all done. It's just the intermediate level stuff is something I need to do now. So this video is way too long. I'd like to thank you very much for watching. You're all very beautiful people, and I'll see you guys in the next video.